welcome to the Sentinel Week 1 of the playoffs recap edition. I'm Perry Mattern alongside Jake Adams, and a lot of good games, some blowouts, some good games, and we are now down to 3 Sentinel area teams left in the playoffs, while 4 were eliminated this weekend. Let's start with one of the teams that were eliminated, Boiling Springs, in why I'm missing. This was the District 3 AA playoffs, and the Bubblers turning the ball over uncharacteristically.
Yeah, they fumbled the ball 3 different times on a handoff or a botched snap, and they got to recover twice. But you just kind of saw when it happened in the first play. It was like, all right, something's not right here, and it kept going. The momentum they never had offensively. They got something going late in the first half, but with a 96-yard touchdown run. But that was kind of it. While Missing's offense is just so crisp and like they know what they're doing, and just execution everywhere. They misdirected right, they misdirected inside, wherever they wanted to go with the ball on offense. Bowling Springs really had no answer, and that's a good run defense that we've seen all year.
Calico is much of the same thing as why I'm missing. They did that to East Pennsboro. This was somewhat a game by the score for a while, but you never really felt like the Panthers were in this game. And the veer attack for Calico, East Penn never really adjusted to it, and Calico continued to run the ball right up the middle, and had a lot of success.
Yeah, Weinhold with almost 200 yards on the ground, and it looks pretty much like it was an easy game for him there. It's kind of surprising, though, East Pennsboro didn't score in this. We know their defense is good, but we also knew going in that Calico was going to pull up some points. And for East Penn to not even get an answer there, and just with what that offense has done all year, whether it's been Brighton Fegley or TJ Stallman, it's kind of surprising that they got blanked, especially in a playoff game.
Right. Very windy night on Friday night. And they didn't take advantage of having. They had the win in the first and the fourth, and by the time it was the fourth, the game was over. But in the first quarter, they had a couple of nice drives, but they weren't able to take advantage of the win. And then when they wanted to throw in the second, Stallman's passes got a little caught up in the end. But you're right, very surprising that they were shut out in that game. The other District 3 AAA game that we had, Redland and Solenko, and the Patriots were pretty easy win for them.
That's not entirely surprising. I mean, Redland was coming off a tough loss, so you knew they were going to be motivated. They're coming off that Cedar Cliff loss. This is also a very good team that some people think might make a run deep into this postseason. Solenko had their work cut out for them with Redland's offense. If Redland plays the right defense too, I mean they're virtually unstoppable. Right. It's just a matter of what defense are they going to get, and this week they got it. 14 points they allowed. That's what's expected of this team when they play their A game.
Cedar Cliff and Lower Dauphin, and this might have been the best game of the ones that we had this weekend. Cedar Cliff falls behind 21-3, manages to make it a 21-18 game, but can't get the points needed to tie it or take the lead, and they fall. And this is really a rough way to end the season, especially because Cedar Cliff had beaten Lower Dauphin earlier in the year. This one has to hurt.
And especially last year, the way that they lost too. 2 picks by Andrew Ford to end their season in the first round. And here, again, it's not surprising, really, that Demi was held to 50 yards.
No, I mean, Lower Dauphin was going to target him. It was such an inspired effort by the Falcons, and you could tell that it was based on the interview with Rob Glock, their head coach, after the game. And I really it was not a surprise that this happened, and that's why I picked Lower Dauphin. And I didn't really disagree with the fact that you took Cedar Cliff, other than the fact that I took Lower Dauphin, but the Colts just didn't wake up.
Yeah, and that's... maybe they were running off too much emotion from that Redland win, too. It's kind of tough to tell.
You never know. And they didn't seem, the intensity that was necessary just didn't seem like it was there. And then I also think another problem with that, too, is that playing on Saturday. And we saw them play on Thursday earlier in the year and almost got caught by Calico in a game that they had to play on Thursday. You never know. And the one thing that plenty of coaches will tell you, teenage kids, just about anything can throw them off.
The good thing is their weapons are mostly coming back. They're going to lose a big chunk of their offensive line. Their defense is going to have to be retooled a little bit, but this is a good learning experience for Grant Brenneman. Hopefully that's a motivation for him. Jaden Demi's got another year left, and so hopefully that's more motivation for him as well. The core there with this offense is going to be back, and they're going to be putting up more points again next year. That's probably a certainty right there, and hopefully they carry that into a win finally in this tournament.
Speaking of learning experiences and creating momentum for your program, I think Carlile did that on Friday night. They lose by 14, but really hung with one of the best teams in the state.
It was funny how Coach Oswalt was so confident after that game even, and he said if we could play that game 9 more times, we'd win it 8. He felt like they matched up so well against Wilson. He thought that they were a clone of CV, and it was just a matter of if we could get our weapons in space, he was saying, we can win this game. And they dropped a bunch of passes uncharacteristically. The wind affected some of Berger's throws. There was a couple adjustments his receivers had to make, but Wilson had to play the same thing. And then also, this team just isn't disciplined, and that's caught them all year, where they either can't make field goals or they bury themselves with penalties. And again, they had double-digit penalties this year for who knows how many times it's happened. But with all the guys that they're going to lose, Coach still thinks that this is what they need. Millington's going to be coming in probably to be a quarterback next year. They lose Berger, they lose Deontay, but there's going to be a lot of guys now that have this experience, and that's what he's glad to have had, is these guys have been in, and now they know what it tastes like.
Well, and I think even just the fact that they went to the playoffs, played a good game, you can't really quantify the impact that has, because that can have an impact down to kids that are in middle school, or families that have kids that are in elementary school that want their kids to play football because Carlile football is a thing again, and it's something that people want to be a part of.
I love his optimism about it, and he's full of confidence. We've seen that all season.
Right.
But I do sit there and think, with all the weapons that they're losing, with Berger and Deontay and a bunch of those guys on defense too, they are returning their entire offensive line, he told us. But you got to wonder, with all that senior leadership that's lost, do they have enough coming back up that with enough experience to take over? I mean, yes, now they have the taste in their mouth, and they're going to be more hungry to move further in the tournament. But are the pieces going to be there to fill in the puzzle?
Right, no doubt about it. We'll see how he does it. We know one thing for sure is that he will be very energetic about it, and will work very hard. All right, Cumberland Valley and Penn Manor, the final game that we covered this weekend on Friday night, and the Eagles really grinded one out, Cumberland Valley style.
Are we surprised at all? Tim Spinelli again with 2 touchdowns, 100 yards rushing, nothing flashy really. Both of his scores were from inside the 5 again too.
Yeah, Penn Manor hung in the game like Cumberland Valley has let some teams do, and then eventually just kind of grinded them away. And speaking of Tim Spinelli, he's our first Sentinel star, and he's just steady Eddie.
Yeah. Defense, you ask him to go and make tackles, make plays, hold guys in check, and he does that. On offense, you tell him, just get us some yards. 4 yards here, don't make Jake Hunt have to win this for us, and that's exactly what he does. He allows the other guys to then go in and make the faster outside runs. He grinds everything down to make things easier for everyone else.
Cumberland Valley just moves the chains as good as anyone.
Yep.
Phil Overton, he moves the chains pretty well, but he also can break off the big play, and unsurprisingly had a big game against Solenko.
Yeah, I mean, the way he was kind of controlled last week, he breaks off for 213 yards. You want to talk about motivation right there.
Well, see, that's the funny thing, though, is that we felt watching that game last week that he was controlled, and he still ended up with 150 yards. And that's really a testament to how good of a player he is.
He's going to be big for them the rest of this tournament if they want to make it anywhere.
He will, no doubt about it. And Billy Berger, our final Sentinel star, and we took one from a team that lost. We don't usually do that.
Yeah, we didn't have much of a choice either.
But as you mentioned, Billy, he didn't get a whole lot of help from his receivers, a couple of drops, but played a good game offensively, and then also had an interception on defense.
Yeah, second straight week with the pick he had. He went 21 of 41, threw a pick, and his 240 yards, a lot of that kind of came in the second half. But if it wasn't for just the way the team kind of played, and not to take anything away from them, but it just didn't go their way on Friday night. If it wasn't for that, he has 30 completions for 41 passing and 300 yards and maybe a couple more scores. Things just didn't go their way. They had the screen passes open. They had, he made a couple nice throws deep, and just unfortunate for them it didn't work out. But he played a great game. The numbers just don't show it.
He not retires, but ends his high school career with a really good ending for him. He played through those tough years, and then got to have a nice, successful, and very successful statistically.
They're going to miss that connection with him and Deontay.
No doubt about it. Well, really, it goes down as this season the greatest in school history. All right, so with 3 teams remaining, we will preview all 3 of those games, Redland, Cumberland Valley, and Camp Hill, in our preview video on Thursday. Make sure you join Jake and I for that.